It's been months since we were last in the wilderness, and after a long winter in Denmark, it's time for us to pack up our lives and drive out in our camper into the wilderness of Sweden. I love nomadic life on the road, not knowing where we're going to end up next, and Sweden never disappoints. Whenever we can, we try to find camper spots near a lake or river. One of my favorite things about being in our camper is that we have a relatively small water tank and no shower. It allows me to go into nature first thing in the morning to wash up, which is something that I don't normally do at home. Starting my morning like this, splashing my face with fresh cold water from the river, is so calm and invigorating. There's something about the sound of rushing water that just soothes me. I used to wake up to the sound every morning at the cabin I rented in Canada, and now the sound and the smell of the water feels so nostalgic. I start to get hungry around 11 a.m. and while we're on the road, I have a simple breakfast with fresh clementine juice that I brought from home, sliced bananas, and soy yogurt. And even though I try to make it look aesthetic, some yogurt usually ends up on the counter too.
For apricot.
Pepsi also loves being in new places in Sweden. He gets so excited by the trails that we've never walked and all of the new smells. He especially enjoys our first spot, and we have the best time running around with him in the wildflowers while the sun is setting. With Pepsi being 12 years old, it's so nice to see him still running around full of energy. We head out again and arrive at a gorgeous spot surrounded by trees and lakes. One of the reasons that we travel in our camper during the slow seasons, the spring and the autumn, is because we get to stay in beautiful locations and have them all to ourselves. Sure, it's a little cold and the weather can be unpredictable, but the peace and solitude is unbeatable. We always have the same routine of getting the camper parked, cleaning, and settling in our new temporary home. Making meals while we're out here seems to take a lot longer than in the kitchen at our Danish cottage. Chopping, mixing, and preparing food seems like a lot more work when we have such a small space, but we make it easier by preparing simple meals with whole veggies, grains, and easy pre-mixed sauces.
Especially now that the sun's up.
I know. There we go.
Seat. First seat. Sweden.
Oh, this is so nice. Everyone wants to see you sitting in this chair. You tell me. We finish cooking and enjoy our meal while watching the sunset and looking out over the forest. It's simple moments like these that make me want to spend more time away from home and in the wilderness.
So much relaxed.
Thanks, Casey.
One of the reasons that I've been looking forward to camping near the many lakes in Sweden is to test out my paddleboard again. I just started learning a couple of months ago, and even though it usually takes me a long time to learn a new skill, I absolutely love being on the water with the paddleboard. We had been thinking about getting inflatable boats or kayaks, but the paddleboard is so much more convenient, and it packs down into a really small space, so it's perfect for our adventures in the camper.
Oh my god.
You forget that it's May?
Yeah. I always think that if I don't bring the appropriate clothing, if I just wear really light summery stuff, then it'll be warm, but why do you always have the best ideas? Why do you always know? I always think things are gonna work out. You're always right.
It's also literally a, what, 30-second walk?
I know it is.
It's literally right there, the lake.
Even though I like where we live by the ocean in Denmark, I grew up near lakes and forests just like this, and being on the lake feels like coming home. The smell of the water and the breeze rustling through the conifer trees reminds me so much of Ontario, and it's so comforting to be in this kind of environment.
I can't wait until I can finally stand up on it. It's gonna be so nice.
Yeah.
This far north, everything is just starting to come into bloom. Sometimes it takes until late June to see flowers on the trees, and right now it's just warm enough for leaves to start poking through. And when the sun comes out, it reflects off of the lake onto the trees, and it feels magical. I could sit and look at it all day.
Okay, so while I love the place that we're staying in, it's absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite places we've ever been in our camper. I don't know that I want to stay here forever, and that's looking like a distinct possibility right now because we did all of the electrics in our camper custom. And by we, I mean Lucas did it because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But we noticed before we came to this most recent spot that the lights weren't working properly on the outside of our camper. We switched all the original lights out for LEDs, and while it looks a lot better, there's something wonky with the wiring. We're really not sure, and we have to find a way to fix it or we can't leave here. So we're gonna work on the electronics, and again, when I say we're gonna work on the electronics, I'm gonna supervise while Lucas actually does the work because he's the one who's more of the expert in this. So I'm gonna go on in and show you what Lucas is working on with our off-grid system.
How's it going over here?
It's all right.
Yeah?
Been better.
Can you run us through what's going on?
Well, so basically, since we arrived here, we've had a little bit of a problem with the side lights on both sides, and the front and rear lights right there, and the front lights on the front.
So are any of them working at all, or?
They're working. I mean, you can see it very dimly. But
yeah,
these guys are very dim. I imagine there's actually power going to them, but there must be some power leak somewhere. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Here you go.
Thank you. No problem.
Will we need to put more Sikaflex on?
No, just leave it alone.
Okay. I hope this works.
Oh man. 3, 2, 1.
It works!
Whoa,
It works!
no way.
It's on! The light is on! Oh my god.
Positive news. It has nothing to do with us. We didn't do anything wrong. Or I didn't do anything wrong.
Good.
Feels good. Basically, some of the old cables somewhere in the camper, there's a bunch of cables that we can't access because they're like under the floor, inside the walls. You know, we would have to tear down the walls to get to them. Somewhere in there's a ground fault or something like that. That basically means that our ground cables are carrying less voltage than they should be. So I popped off one of the side lights right there. So we just did a little test with attaching new ground wire directly to the skin of the camper, which is what we use as our ground. And now all the lights are working, or you can at least test that they work.
After a week of camping by the lake, we're ready to move on again. But before we leave, we go for one last walk. It's a beautiful day and we explore around the shoreline, walking through patch after patch of wild blueberries. I wish we could stay until the end of summer so that we could harvest them, but we'll just have to come back in our camper again. So I'm out in the forest right now, and it is just so peaceful and quiet. All I can hear is the wind blowing through the trees and the birds singing. It's just so nice. This is exactly what I needed right now. I just find that I get so easily overwhelmed by the outside world. And even though we live in a really small village in Denmark, it's like 2,000 people, which I think to the average person is pretty small. I still feel kind of claustrophobic sometimes around so many people. And when I get out into nature like this, when I'm surrounded by wilderness, I feel like I can be myself. I feel like I can breathe again. I calm down. I have no feelings of claustrophobia. I just love having so much space around me, especially out here in Sweden. It is so beautiful. And this free camping law, where you can park your camper or pop up your tent virtually anywhere, is the most incredible thing. We can just be out here in the wilderness with our off-grid camper and then move on to the next spot and yeah, travel anywhere in Sweden that we want to go. And it's such a gift. I'm so grateful that we're out here right now, and I can't wait to go to the next spot. It's definitely somewhere that I love coming back to again and again.
Versus a like a.
Okay, you're gonna do better than that. There you go. That's right, go
You still have to put the car on.
Oh, and then the target.
Stop. New backpack.
It's actually really nice. I haven't worn a dry bag backpack before, so I kind of expected it to be, I don't know, a little uncoordinated or uncomfortable, but it's not at all.
Good.
It's kind of nice because then I don't have to carry a huge dry bag, like full of all of our stuff before I just have to lug it around.
I think my favorite thing about being out here is how simple our lives are. I feel like most people live such busy lives and want so many things, and I don't judge them for wanting that, but all I want is a slow, uncomplicated, and unexceptional life. Out here, life is whittled down to the essentials: spending time in nature, simple hobbies like hiking, paddling, reading, and spending quality time together. We use what we have and we don't need anything else, and I absolutely love that. It's when we escape out into Sweden or Norway that life really feels full for me. We have less and we do less, and yet I feel completely satisfied and fulfilled. And because we have an off-grid power system and are soon adding solar to our setup, which is so exciting, we rarely have to go into cities or campgrounds, and we can be solitary in nature. It might seem lonely, but I much prefer being away from people and instead being in silence. Even though we have to battle the moisture in here when it rains, I love how cozy it feels. It gives me the perfect excuse to make a tea and curl up with a good book. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go, and in moments like these, I can fully relax and be present. The sound of the rain on the roof is almost meditative, and we usually just relax and enjoy it. Pepsi loves it too, and we usually find him cuddling up under the blanket on our bed, fast asleep. We make our last meal while the rain falls, a simple veggie and tomato sauce over pasta. Our few weeks in Sweden have come to a close. It's time to pack up and return home to Denmark. We say goodbye to the beautiful little lake that we're parked on and start the long drive home. It's been an amazing trip, a welcome respite in the wilderness. And one thing I know is that we'll be back again soon.